Hello everybody and welcome to the War Room for this weekend's main event. Beautiful Singapore. I can see the Marina Bay Sands out of the window. It's quite a spectacular view here. Always a nice city, always great fights. And this main event is it's a fascinating one. It's a difficult one to break down, I'll be honest. I have a few thoughts on it, but what we all expect from this fight is a grappling extravaganza. Demian Maia, arguably the best jiu-jitsu player in the game. Ben Askren, arguably the best wrestler in the game, the best wrestler in the welterweight division, most definitely. Do these guys grapple? Do these guys spend 25 minutes tussling on the mat to see who's got the grappling advantage? I'm not so sure. Oftentimes in the past, when we've seen two grapplers come up against each other, they tend to cancel each other out and we tend to get a striking match. I'm not so sure that's going to happen this time around, though, basically because Demian Maia normally has a disadvantage in the striking range against everybody that he's fighting, but I feel against Ben Askren that Demian Maia actually has the striking advantage, which will be quite unusual for him. So for me, Demian Maia can stand and trade in this fight, or if he gets taken down, then he's got all of his jiu-jitsu to fall back upon. I feel like he'll have an easier time on the feet if Ben Askren doesn't want to keep wrestling with him. To apply his striking skills. He's got good low kicks, he's got decent hands. Ben Askren, on the other hand, I've not really seen a great deal of his striking, even when he's in good positions on the floor, even when he's got somebody in mount. When he's landing strikes, he's not really doing a great deal of damage to them. So I don't know whether he's got the power to do damage on the feet to Demian Maia either. So I feel like Ben Askren's going to have to stick to his A plan, which is shoot a double, get the fight to the floor, and then just apply wrestling as best he can against a jiu-jitsu player that's going to constantly be looking to create space. What we have seen in previous fights with Ben Askren is he's great at taking people's space away from them, making them feel suffocated, making them feel trapped, getting that desperation where they can't create any space on the floor and they start doing things out of character, which is obviously what opens up his strikes and his finishes. I doubt very much that Demian Maia is going to do anything too risky on the floor. I feel like he has enough jiu-jitsu to fall back upon to be able to constantly keep trying things for 25 minutes and not really take any silly risks. Obviously, his A plan is usually to get to the back of people, and I feel like there is an opportunity for him to get to the back of Ben Askren in this fight. It's going to be more difficult than most of his other fights, I would say, if not all of them. But the one sequence that Demian Maia does use, which I think will be beneficial to him, is actually up against the fence. This is one area where I feel like Demian Maia may have not an advantage, but be more competitive in the wrestling exchange against Ben Askren. Up against the fence, although Ben Askren does use the fence in his fights, he's much more comfortable on the open mat. That's where he applies his game most of the time, and I feel like Demian Maia, most of his takedowns come against the fence. He does shoot low, but then he tends to drive people into the fence. Once he's got them up against the fence, then he starts to look for body locks and he starts to work that outside trip, that outside reap. Hooking the outside leg, pulling the leg away from the fence, and then using his body weight to land them onto the mat with his weight on top of them. And the benefit in the outside reap also is that it gets him to half guard. Worst case scenario, he gets to half guard. Oftentimes, leaving it completely past the guard as he lands, he'll clear the legs entirely. The counter to the outside reap, if I'm up against the fence and I've got someone tripping my leg, I want to turn my body to the side. I want to try and get some balance on one leg so they can lift this leg off the floor, and I'm not too concerned about losing my balance. It's when you become spread and your weight's 50-50 on your legs. So the counter to someone using the outside reap is actually to put most of your weight onto one leg and to try and turn onto a side a little bit. And that's one of the reasons why I feel Demian Maia uses this trip a lot of the time, is because most of the time when he's starting to work that outside reap and people start turning to the side, he's then in a good position to get to their back and start climbing up onto to attack their neck. The other thing that you'll see in Demian Maia's fights is that it's usually not the first or second takedown that works. It's the second, third, fourth. It's in the scrambles where he's able to get his hooks in and take someone's back. I think this is going to be a unique challenge for Ben Askren and a unique problem to solve, because does he really want to take Demian Maia to the floor? Does he have the skills to stand up and trade with him? The fact that he controls that center range means that I would say the option is on Ben Askren's side. He can choose where the fight takes place. But then, it's which one of the two evils do you want to go with? I would say, I would rather strike with Demian Maia all day, because the chances of controlling him on the floor are pretty difficult. Fatigue might play a factor in this one as well. It's hot and humid here. I don't know what the arena is going to be like, but it has been hot at previous events, so that might play a factor at later rounds. Makes it much easier to kind of slip and slide around and slide arms under necks or those kind of things. There are lots of different ways that this can play out. I hope it's a grappling extravaganza. I hope we get to see Ben Askren deal with the submissions of Demian Maia, and see if Demian Maia can create a little space and threaten Ben Askren on the floor. If it's a striking match, then who knows what's going to happen, because I don't know. Neither of these guys have massively impressed me on the feet. I feel like Demian Maia's definitely got the advantage there. All right, enjoy the fights. I'll catch you next time.